I should have known when his mother insisted on keeping the spare key. I was naive back then, too eager to please, too eager to be accepted. When Daniel and I got married, I moved into his family's house, the one they'd passed down from his grandfather. It was meant to be temporary, just until we saved enough to buy a place of our own. That temporary stretched into nearly 10 years. I was 34 when I married him, not young, not old, just somewhere in that quiet, polite middle, where women are expected to settle down and stop asking questions. He was charming at first. Daniel knew how to make people like him. He made everyone feel like they were the only one in the room. He made me feel lucky. His mother, Eleanor, was another story. The day after our wedding, she showed up at our front door with a casserole and a list of rules. I smiled, thanked her, and told myself it was just her way of showing love. Rule 1: always call before rearranging the furniture. Rule 2: never paint over the wood paneling in the dining room. Rule 3: keep the key under the third flower pot on the porch. I followed those rules. Every single one, until I didn't. It wasn't a sudden shift, it was slow, like water boiling. I didn't notice the temperature rising until I was scalded. At first, it was little things. Eleanor would let herself in on Sunday mornings and tidy up while we were still in bed. She'd open the curtains, make the bed around us, and comment on how some people don't believe in getting up before 8. Daniel never stopped her. He laughed, said she meant well, said it was her house too. Technically, she bought the groceries. She chose the new curtain. She accidentally threw away the birthday card my sister sent me, the one with the handwritten note that made me cry. I didn't even tell her where I'd put it. She just found it. I should have said something, but I told myself to be gracious, to be the bigger person, to let it go. Then came the dinners. Eleanor hosted Sunday dinners every week. I was expected to cook, clean, set the table, serve the food, and then act surprised when she complimented her son's good taste in a wife. She'd bring over her friends, her bridge club, her sister. They all called me Danny's girl and pinched my cheeks like I was 12. One night, after everyone left, I told Daniel I didn't want to do the dinners anymore. I was tired. I wanted one day for myself. He blinked. It's just dinner, he said. It's not just dinner, I said. It's my entire Sunday, he shrugged. Then just order takeout next time. They won't care, but they would, and I knew it. I started getting headaches. Real ones, not made-up excuses. My body was reacting to something my mouth refused to say. I'd lie in the guest room some nights, just for the silence. He didn't come looking. He'd say goodnight from the hallway and shut the door behind him. The day it all cracked open, I remember exactly what I was wearing. Navy blue dress, pearl earrings. It was our 8th wedding anniversary. Daniel had forgotten. He didn't say a word, no card, no dinner plans, no flowers, nothing. That night, Eleanor came over unannounced. I was sitting at the kitchen table, staring at a glass of wine. I didn't want to drink. She looked at me, then at the table. No dinner plan. It's our anniversary, I said quietly. She smiled. Oh, already 8 years. My goodness. Time flies when you're playing house. I felt something in me twist. Snap. I smiled back. The next morning, I started planning. Not revenge. Not exactly. Just a correction. A shift. A quiet return to equilibrium. I found a box in the attic labeled Eleanor's things. Inside were letters, old ones, from someone named Martin. The dates went back to the early 80s. Passionate, desperate. Some were postmarked from another state. I read them all, over 3 nights. I sat on the floor with a flashlight, and read every one. Martin wasn't Eleanor's husband. He was someone else. One of the letters mentioned a weekend at the cabin. I remembered the cabin. We still owned it. Daniel hated going up there. Said it was too remote, too dusty. But Eleanor went up twice a year, alone. She always said she needed the air. I scanned the letter, then I scanned the rest. I wasn't sure what I was looking for, but I knew it was in there. It had to be. And then I found it, a photo, folded behind one of the envelopes. It was old and grainy, but it was Eleanor and a man, holding hands, in front of the cabin. I didn't say anything. Not that day, not the next. Instead, I went to the bank. I asked for copies of every statement under our joint account. I went through every charge, every withdrawal. I found 5 payments over the past year, to a storage facility 2 towns over. Daniel never mentioned it. I drove there on a Thursday. The woman at the front desk was polite. She asked for ID. I gave her mine, and a copy of our marriage certificate. She hesitated, but handed me the key to Unit 42. Inside were 3 things: a mattress on the floor, a mini fridge, and a second cell phone. I sat down on the mattress and stared at the phone. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just waited for the cold, clean feeling to come. It did. I took the phone, locked the unit, and drove home. I didn't confront him. I didn't even ask questions. That weekend, I made lasagna from scratch. I smiled. I played my part. And when he left on Monday morning, I started transferring money, not all at once, just little bits, here and there, small enough not to notice. I opened an account in my maiden name. I called a lawyer, not for divorce, not yet, for information. I played the long game. I had waited 8 years. I could wait 6 more months. I never looked at that second phone when I found it. Not then. I didn't need to. Just knowing it existed was enough to flip something inside me. But after a week, curiosity won. I locked myself in the bathroom, sat on the closed toilet lid, and powered it on. There were no passcodes. Of course there weren't. He was always careless when he thought no one was watching. Messages, photos, voicemails. Her name was Nicole, younger. From what I could tell, much younger. The kind of young that still posted mirror selfies and used hearts in texts. The kind of young that believed married men when they said things like, "It's complicated." I didn't listen to all the voicemails, just the last 3. In one, she asked if he'd told me yet. In another, she said she was late. The third was quiet, just her breathing, then a whisper, "I miss you." I sat there, the phone warm in my hand, and let the silence settle. I didn't feel jealous, or insecure, or even betrayed. I felt insulted. He thought he could do this, live a double life, hide a second phone in a storage unit, slip away for work trips, and I'd never know. He thought I was too soft, too passive, too proper to ever do anything but swallow it and smile. He forgot who raised me. My mother didn't believe in yelling. She believed in consequences. She didn't slap. She stared. She didn't argue. She documented. Quiet women aren't weak. We're just tired of wasting energy on noise. I went into the garage and found the old camcorder. Eleanor had insisted on saving from the 90s. It still worked. I charged it. That weekend, I followed Daniel, told him I had errands. He said he was going to help a friend move. I nodded, kissed his cheek, and drove the other way. Then I circled back and followed his car. He wasn't hard to track. He took the highway, drove 40 minutes, pulled into a motel. Not a seedy one, but not nice either, just neutral enough to blend in. Nicole was already there. I parked across the lot, zoomed the lens and hit record. I got everything. The door opening, the kiss, him reaching for her suitcase, all of it. I didn't cry. I didn't rage. I just filmed. That night, I backed up the footage, twice, saved it to a flash drive, put one copy in my safety deposit box, hid the other under the lining of my suitcase. Then I smiled in the mirror. I knew I'd need more than proof. I needed leverage, ammunition, an exit strategy. Eleanor gave it to me. She called the next morning, chirpy as ever, asking if we could host her book club the following week. I said yes, told her I'd make her favorite lemon bars with extra zest. I even asked if she'd like to co-host. She was thrilled, giggled like a schoolgirl. I hung up and deleted the call log. That week I went back to the attic and took 3 of the letters from Martin. I slipped them into the pages of Eleanor's favorite book, the one she always bragged about having signed by the author. Then I waited. Book club night came. 11 women in cardigans and chunky jewelry filled our living room, sipping tea and judging each other's haircuts. I served the lemon bars, refilled cups, smiled at Eleanor like we were co-conspirators. At one point, she pulled out the book. The letters fell out. They fluttered to the floor like snow. Silence. She scrambled, red-faced, trying to gather them, but two of the women were already reading. One of them, Janice, I think, let out a soft gasp. Another looked up and said, "Who's Martin?" Eleanor didn't answer. She said she wasn't feeling well, left the room without a word. I stayed, poured more tea, talked about the book's pacing issues. When they all left, I went upstairs. Daniel was in bed scrolling on his phone, his real phone. "You okay?" he asked, not looking up. "Fine," I said. "Your mom's not," he snorted. "She's dramatic, always has been." I nodded. "Good night." That night, I slept in the guest room again. I slept well. The next day, Eleanor didn't call. That week, she didn't visit. 2 weeks later, I got a text. "We need to talk." It wasn't from Daniel. It was from Nicole. I stared at it for 10 minutes before replying. "Meet me, alone." We met at a park halfway between her town and mine. She wore sunglasses, like that would disguise anything. I didn't judge her. She wasn't the problem. She was just another casualty. I told her everything. About the house, about the mother, about the way he shrinks when he's confronted. She cried. Not big tears, just that shaky-lipped, stunned cry that comes when the last illusion drops. I handed her the flash drive. "You'll want this," I said. She looked at me, confused. "Why are you helping me?" I smiled. "Because I know how it feels to be lied to." She thanked me, apologized, said she didn't know he was married. I believed her. I drove home and deleted her number. Then I filed the paperwork. Separation first, quietly, no drama, no screaming match, just a neat little envelope with my name at the top and his at the bottom. When Daniel got served, he didn't say a word. He came home, looked at the papers, and sat on the edge of the bed. I stood in the doorway, arms crossed. "You don't want to talk about this?" he asked. I tilted my head. "You never wanted to talk about anything else." He opened his mouth, then closed it. I walked away. That night, he moved into the guest room. He stayed there for 3 weeks. On the 4th, I packed my bags. I didn't leave in a hurry. That's what made it perfect. I folded my clothes, zipped my suitcase, and placed it by the front door, like I was going on a short trip. I even left a note on the kitchen counter. "Don't call. This isn't temporary." I didn't say where I was going. I didn't need to. The house no longer felt like mine. And that was the point. Let him wander through it, empty and echoing, like I had for years. Let him listen for footsteps that never come. Let him sit at a dinner table for 2, alone. I rented a small apartment in a neighboring town. Not fancy, but clean. Sunlight hit the windows at just the right angle in the morning. And for the first time in years, I could breathe. The silence was different here. It wasn't heavy. It didn't hum with tension. It just was. Eleanor showed up 2 weeks later. She knocked. Didn't call ahead. I opened the door, slowly. She looked smaller than I remembered. Her hair wasn't as neat. Her blouse wasn't ironed. She held a tin of cookies like a peace offering. I didn't invite her in. "You don't have to be cruel," she said. I met her eyes. "Neither did you." She flinched. That was new. "I didn't know about Nicole," she said quietly. "But you knew about everything else." I replied. She said nothing. We stood there for a moment, 2 women finally stripped of all pretense. No titles, no roles, just one who endured and one who orchestrated. "I made mistakes," she said. "So did I said. I closed the door before she could answer, locked it, walked away. That night, I slept with the window open. Daniel sent flowers, then texts, then emails, then silence. I knew he'd never apologize. Not truly. He'd spin it, rewrite it. He always did. I could already hear the lines. We grew apart. She was always distant. I didn't feel appreciated. I didn't care. Let him write his version. I had mine. 3 months passed. The separation finalized. My lawyer said Daniel didn't contest anything. No calls, no requests. He just signed where he was told. I kept my last name. I changed my locks. I found a job at a local bookstore. It paid just enough, and the owner liked that I didn't talk too much. Every Friday, I took home 1 book I'd never read before. I kept a journal, not a diary, just short notes. Today, I made soup. It tasted like freedom. I didn't flinch when someone raised their voice in the store. I smiled without checking if anyone saw. One afternoon, as I was restocking the nonfiction section, a woman about my age asked if I had any recommendations for something sharp and honest. I handed her a memoir about rebuilding after betrayal. She looked at the cover, then at me. "I'm going through it," she said. I nodded. "You'll get through it." She exhaled like she'd been holding her breath for weeks. We talked for 20 minutes. I didn't give her advice, just listened. When she left, she said, "I wish I knew someone like you 3 years ago." I almost said, "I wish I'd known someone like me too," but I didn't. I just smiled and rang her up. Later that night, I sat by the window and watched the streetlights flicker on. I thought about all the versions of myself that had existed inside that old house. The silent one, the polite one, the invisible one. She was gone now. I was here, and I wasn't done yet. There was still one piece left, one quiet act I'd been saving. The cabin, the one Eleanor used to visit, the one tied to all those letters from Martin. I still had the key. Daniel never asked for them back. I wasn't sure he even remembered we owned it. I drove up on a Tuesday. The air smelled different there. Pine and damp earth, and something older. Inside, everything was as I remembered. Mismatched furniture, a crooked picture frame, the fireplace with the cracked stone hearth. I brought a bottle of wine and the letters, sat in the armchair by the window and read them one last time. Then I burned them. Every word, every secret, every lie. The flames were small but steady. When they died out, I opened the windows and let the cold air rush in. It didn't sting. It felt clean. I didn't keep trophies. I didn't take pictures. I didn't leave a note. I just drove back to my apartment, turned off my phone, and took a long shower. The next morning, I woke up to sunlight and silence, and I didn't miss anything. It took a while for the noise in my head to quiet down, even after I moved out, after the paperwork, after the flowers stopped coming. There was still a part of me waiting for the next blow. That's what life with Daniel and Eleanor had done to me, conditioned me to expect the interruption, the correction, the disapproval. But days passed, then weeks, then seasons, and nothing happened. No drama, no confrontation, no last-minute apology. He let me go like I was never more than a shadow in his home, and maybe to him, I wasn't. I started cooking again, not because I had to, but because I wanted to. Simple meals, roasted vegetables, fresh bread. I played music while I chopped, sometimes jazz, sometimes silence. I even painted the walls of the apartment, soft green in the kitchen, pale gray in the bedroom. I didn't ask anyone's opinion. I didn't wait for approval. One afternoon, I saw Eleanor at the grocery store. She was at the self-checkout, struggling to scan a bunch of cilantro. Her hands shook a little. She looked thinner, tired. I almost walked past her. Almost. But I didn't. I stepped up beside her, took the bundle and scanned it for her. She blinked. "Thank you." I nodded. "You're welcome." That was it. No long conversation. No false warmth. Just two women on opposite sides of a war that no one won. I left for back home. I sat on the couch and stared at my phone. Nicole had texted again. This time she wasn't asking for help. She was offering it. "If you ever want to talk, I'm here. No pressure." I didn't reply right away. I wasn't sure what I'd even say. But a few days later, I asked her to meet me for coffee. She looked different, more grounded, less desperate. "I left him," she said as soon as we sat down. I stirred my drink. "Why?" She smirked. "Because I saw what it did to you, and I realized I was next." We talked for 2 hours. Not about Daniel, at least, not much. We talked about starting over, about shame, about women who are trained to tolerate more than they should. She was still figuring things out. So was I. But it felt good, sitting there not pretending. Not long after that, I went back to the storage unit. I hadn't canceled it. Part of me wanted to see if he had. But when I got there, the key still worked. The lock hadn't been changed. Inside, everything was gone. Just an empty concrete box. I sat on the cold floor for a while and let that sink in. He hadn't just moved on. He'd erased the evidence. That's what people like him do. They sweep the mess under someone else's rug and walk away clean. But I kept the flash drive. Not out of spite. Out of principle. A reminder. Later that year, I got promoted at the bookstore, started managing the calendar, hosting events, choosing which books we featured. I started a second act section: memoirs, essays, fiction about women starting over. It became the most visited shelf in the store. People started leaving notes tucked between the pages. This saved me. I needed this today. Thank you for choosing this book. I kept those notes in a jar by my bed. One night, I added my own. It said, "You did it. You got out, and you didn't need to scream to be heard." I folded it, dropped it in, let it mix with the rest, and for the first time in years, I felt something I hadn't felt since before Eleanor's rules and Daniel's silences, and all the small humiliations I'd swallowed like pills. I felt proud, not loud, not flashy, just quietly, deeply proud, and that was enough. The spring came without fanfare. No dramatic turning of the seasons, no poetic moment of awakening, just sunlight that lingered a little longer in the evenings, and the soft rhythm of life continuing. I walked more, cooked more, read more, and when people asked me how I was, I stopped saying fine. I said, better. Daniel never reached out again, not even once. Not on our would-be anniversary, not on my birthday, not when mutual friends saw me in town and mentioned it. At first, that silence stung, but over time, it became a kind of peace. I didn't want a last conversation. I didn't want closure through him. I already had it. One day in June, I found a card in my mailbox. No return address. Inside was a short note, written in neat cursive. "Thank you for not letting him ruin me, Nicole." She hadn't needed to sign it. I knew. I held the card in my hand for a long time, staring at that one sentence, not just because it mattered to her, but because it reminded me of something I tried so hard to forget. I had mattered, even in the mess, even when I was quiet, even when I thought I was invisible. I had still made a difference. Some nights, I let myself think back. Not often, just enough to remember who I was before I started disappearing piece by piece. The woman who smiled too much at family dinners, who flinched at footsteps in the hallway, who apologized for asking for space in her own home. I see her clearly now. I don't hate her. She kept me alive. She made this version of me possible. So I don't bury her. I carry her. I keep one photograph from those years. It's not of Daniel, not of the house. It's a photo someone took at one of Eleanor's Sunday dinners. Me standing in the kitchen, holding a tray, looking just past the camera. There's no smile, just eyes, wide open. Sometimes I stare at that photo and whisper, "You were right to be tired." I no longer need to prove anything. Not to him, not to her, not even to myself. What I needed was a life of my own design, built quietly, chosen carefully, lived fully, and that's what I have now. I go to the bookstore each morning and unlock the door. I know the regulars by name. I know who likes coffee with their reading, and who prefers tea. I know which books will make them cry, and which ones will make them feel seen. I've become the woman I needed back then. One who listens, one who sees, one who doesn't flinch when things go quiet. Some women burn things down when they've been wronged. Others wait for the right wind, then open all the windows and let the ashes drift out. I didn't scream. I didn't beg. I just left. And when I did, the silence that followed wasn't empty. It was